like a compulsion. I feel like I have to do
Just hope it'd be hiding in the background someplace.
I mean, like, usually like 300 days, like, it just stops. And that's not like common like these years. That's a great
Center.
But I've been more straight for so I'm basically apologies though.
Okay.
That's right. So because I can share my shirt, she's asking me to say something. I said, well, I could, but somebody right here referencing it. Okay.
They're probably going to ask you to go forward.
That's actually like
Foster care, protective services. You didn't do makeup before you got up here?
You got your phone vibration. Oh, okay. I'm just going to stay here because we can't get into the site. You wouldn't think these lights could give off that much heat. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm so glad we don't do Snyder lighting anymore. It was miserable in front of those lights. They sit in the fan.
I was there when it changed. Lighting to the schools. To IMAD over there. So Mr. Becker, I said,
Yes, would you like? Well, good morning. It's great to be in Flint today. This is an exciting step forward in addressing the water crisis. There's a lot of activities we're doing to address this terrible situation. And I always want to say, apologize to the people of Flint for what happened, and we're working hard to solve this problem, and each and every day we're making progress on solutions. Everything from making sure that we continue to have bottled water to water filters, to working on infrastructure reviews, to figuring out where those lead pipes are and get a plan to get them out of the ground. But today is about water bills. And it's great to be here with so many great community people. We've got wide representation up here on stage. In particular, I want to thank Pastor Hawkins and Representative Phelps for joining me up here. Representative Phelps has been a good partner in the legislature. Pastor Hawkins has been good at giving me good advice. And I appreciate the support from the faith-based community in Flint. So today we're talking about the water bill credit. I want to thank all my partners in the legislature for $30 million to apply this credit. And the concept is for the period starting April of 2014 through April of 2016, or whenever the water is deemed safe to come out of the tap, but that's the period we use to do this calculation, is to say 65% of the water portion of the water and sewer bill you shouldn't have to pay for. We did an analysis to say if you looked at the human consumption part of the water that people use, it's about half. And we rounded up to 65% to say let's be safe. So the water you think you're using to drink, you'd use to cook, you're using for bathing, that's to say you shouldn't have to pay for that because of the perception and the issues with the water. So we're doing a calculation of those amounts. Over the next couple weeks, we're going to have resources partnering with the city to develop the program to say, how can we apply a credit on people's water bill? So the go forward is for people that are current on their bills, we'll apply a credit for the water portion of the water and sewer bill until that 65% of that piece is used up over time. For people that aren't current on their water bill, that are behind, to the degree we can get you to come in and establish a payment plan, then we'll use that credit to apply to that part of the process. So this is to, again, give relief to the citizens of Flint for water that they shouldn't have to pay for. It'll also help the financial stability of Flint in the water system. So this is an important step forward today. So that's why I'm proud and pleased to be here. And what I'll tell you, this isn't the end of anything. This is just one more step as we take steps every single day to make Flint a better place across the board. So with that, let me turn it over to Pastor Hawkins. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. And certainly, I want to commend both the governor as well as legislation for passing this bill and for allowing this money to hit the residents who has been affected so much by this. But I also want to thank the residents of Flint because of their continuous effort towards suggesting and demanding fairness, that because of that, your voices have been heard. And because your voices have been heard, this type of relief comes to this city, and it is so needed. And as well as and as long as the governor and legislation continue to move and act like this, as they've been acting and seeing these bills through, we get the relief that's needed. We get the relief that's needed, and we know that this relief just will benefit us until the problem is totally fixed. But to have this relief is so awesome. It is so awesome. Being a Flint resident myself and having to use the water and to deal with this, it is so great to know that this relief has been done. So again, I commend the governor, who is doing an awesome job in terms of getting this problem cared for. And we know that as he's working on this, he's showing that Flint lives, residents here do really matter. And I just want to tell him publicly, I thank him as well as legislation. I thank you for what you've done, what you're doing, and let's continue to work together to improve our community. Thank you.
Now we'll do the official part. Get a lot of people watching my penmanship. We have somebody from the Board of Ed here, so I am not the poster child for penmanship. Very good. All done. Thank you. Okay, everybody got their pictures? Okay, thank you. Well, thank you, partnership representative. We'll get this going to help people of Flint, so thank you. I'll come back and see if there's a few questions from our press folks. So thank you.
Okay, I'm going to come around with a microphone for anyone who's got questions. We're going to start over here with Jim from Channel 7.
Morning, Governor. We've had some newspaper headlines this morning about new email that your office released. How many red flags did you have before you realized this was an emergency in October of 2015? How many red flags were put in front of you before that date? And I have a follow-up question.
Yeah, Jim, this is something that we clearly could have done better on, if you look at it. There were various flags, but all the dots weren't connected the way I wish they were. And one of the things that I take out of that is, as we go into the phase of addressing this problem, there has to be a whole nother sense of urgency, and to make sure those red flags get spotted fast and early. And I tell you, I'm absolutely committed to that. So as we've gone through this phase, and as we went into the emergency actually being declared, every single day I do a phone call on Flint. And we have the relevant people telling me the information, the issues going on. I get reports on a regular basis that I design the reports to say this is the information I want to get. And I'm working hard we have great people in the State Emergency Operations Center. They're working hard. We're getting people together, and if there's a problem and people are not cooperating or we're not getting the information fast enough, there's meetings being held to say it's going to get done.
Still going back to the number of red flags before October of 2015, a lot of people are asking, how many red flags did it take you for your alarm bells to go off? Where was your urgency prior to October the 15th if these red flags kept coming, and so that you could get past the control and contain mentality?
Yeah, we had urgency on answering questions. The big problem is not having confirmation of the lead problem. Again, we worked hard to get filters to people in the earlier part of the year because of the quality of the water. We did $2 million to help improve the water system earlier in the year. We did work in October in terms of getting filters out to people. Not enough people took them up. We needed to do more. But it was really when it came down to October and finally getting confirmation from the DEQ and the Department of Health and Human Services to both acknowledge the wonderful work being done by third parties that we should have gotten done, we should have found on our own without them. And that was Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha and Professor Mark Edwards. And Mark's right up here, and I thank this man over and over again for helping identify this. And to be open, I'm relying on his advice to help give me good advice about how do we make sure this doesn't happen in Michigan again, and hopefully the nation.
We've got a question from David, Fox 2.
Hi, Governor. As we've been going through Flint, what we hear over and over is that they don't want Band-Aids, and some of them even qualify this $30 million bill as a Band-Aid. Do you see it as a Band-Aid, and where is the effort to get more money for them?
Well, I appreciate people being frustrated. I mean, if you had to deal with bottled water and filters and you got bad weather to even say, I got to go out and get water rather than taking my tap, that doesn't make you feel good. It can't. What we're trying to do is respond the best we can, and I'm committed to short-term responses to make sure we provide the resources until that water is safe to drink. I'm committed to saying we are going to do the analysis to get the pipes recoated, to get the water coming out of the tap again, only based on scientific evidence, including great people like Professor Edwards saying the test results are good enough. And then moving beyond that, we've started the infrastructure study. We're going to look at this issue about getting those lead pipes out, and it's great. We got a good partner in the city working on that process. In terms of people having higher blood lead levels, we've already started that process. We're following up on the cases with identified high levels, but we're actually started the mobile food bank this week. Actually, it was great. The pastor told me about how it came and visited on Wednesday, and they even helped 200 families, even on Wednesday with the snow, in terms of getting nutritional items out to people. These are the kinds of things that we're working on each and every day, and it's got to continue through economic development. The MEDC just made a good investment in the Capitol Theater to improve the quality of life in Flint. We wouldn't be making that investment if we aren't going to continue to make investments in economic development and other things to bring jobs to Flint, to make Flint a stronger, better city over the long term.
Okay, Jaquanda from the Flint Journal.
So I'm giving longer answers. You can see I'm kind of fired up about making sure we are going to take care of this.
Hi, I'm Jaquanda from the Flint Journal, and I have a question about the $30 million figure here, because it has been reported to the officials say that's not enough. You know, it may keep the department solvent through December. Are there plans to bring more funding in? Are they working on that for the city? And I have a follow-up question.
Sure. In terms of what this was set to address, and the question that we are answering is about a credit for the water bill. to say this is to help address the piece of water that people couldn't use or shouldn't have to pay for. So that was based on actually good work we partnered with the city on doing calculations to say if you took 65% of the cumulative water bills between April 14 and April of 16, what is that dollar amount? And that's where the $30 million came from. There have been comments from the city, and I appreciate that. They're concerned about the long-term finances of the city. So am I. But first, let's deal with this water credit bill, and then we can always talk about other issues. And again, if you look, I've got a major appropriation in front of the legislature for 17, including significant reserve funds being asked for.
Okay, and then the other question is, in listening to you talk earlier about this particular bill, are we asking residents to pay their past due bills before we can issue credits here?
Again, that would be part of the process. We're still working all the details, but as they come in to do a payment plan for the sewer piece of their bill and that portion of the water bill, we can start applying the credits. So again, we want to give them the benefit of the credit, but we also want to be clear that this is to cover that 65% of the water piece. If they hadn't been paying their sewer bill, let's talk about a payment plan so they can get caught up.
Okay. We've got Jacob with the Detroit News right here.
I have a first and a follow-up. Sorry, apologize. Can you respond
tour.
once again to Valerie Brader and Mike Cadola's concerns in October of 2014, how the communication may have become an issue and how it didn't arrive to your desk as you may have stated? And one more follow-up.
Well, again, these are the red flags that Jim was asking about. And you just wish it could have been identified better and accumulated. And that's part of the problem we had. That's why I'm working with so great urgency on this. Again, they went out and asked tough questions of other people, but they were told the water's safe. They were told about this issue or that issue, and it didn't keep on getting escalated enough. That is one of the big problems here, and that's something we're making sure it doesn't happen again.
Also, in an email correspondence, Mr. Werfel made a consideration to not alert the public of the Legionnaires' outbreak in January of 2015. Can you speak on that a little bit and just give a response to that consideration?
Well, again, I think some of that information had been out there, that there were individuals in the Department of Health and Human Services and the DEQ that had some awareness of that. Again, those are the red flags we're talking about that should have been caught and identified better and escalated in some fashion. It didn't happen, and so that's why, again, we're going through this whole cultural process to say much of this were cultural issues with people not using common sense the way you'd hope, potentially not the sense of urgency you'd hope, and that's why hopefully you can see it in my passion today to answer every one of you on your two questions, that this is about having urgency, this is about using common sense, this is about working together, and it's about solving this issue and taking this problem on directly.
Okay. We've got Nick with WNEM.
Morning. In the effort of transparency, why are we not allowed inside these interagency committee meetings? I know there was one right before this press conference here. Can you explain maybe that?
They're live streamed. You're welcome. You can watch the whole thing. You can catch people when they walk out the door and ask a question. We're just trying to keep a room that's got a reasonable number of people so we can have a dialogue, but I don't know how you get more transparent than live streaming in terms of making it accessible, and we're happy to follow up with you. And if you want the mic back and ask me a question about what happened in that meeting, I'll answer you right now.
All right, we've got Damon with ABC12.
Governor, a lot of people are on the email chains that started talking about the Flint water well before the state of emergency was declared. At what point do you put pressure on yourself to have been asking more questions or come out in the forefront much sooner to say, hey, maybe people shouldn't be drinking the water and we should be stepping in now out of an abundance of caution versus waiting for a year for emails to continue raising flags that you say didn't get to you? Were you asking enough questions early on?
That's where I'm kicking myself every day. I wish I would have asked more questions. I wish I wouldn't have accepted answers. So that's the whole point of this thing is I'm not going to have that happen again. And again, that's the point about having the urgency, asking the questions now, designing reports, saying just because you tell me something, let's make sure we validate it, let's go through that process. Because again, this is the same question that has been asked in different ways. There were red flags here in these emails, if you look at it, and beyond emails. We didn't connect all the dots that I wish we would have. And again, that's where we're having to address that. That's part of the cultural thing I want to address longer term within state government and government in general. let's work on doing better to connect those dots and go forward. And each and every day, I can tell you, if you ask how do I have issues or concerns or problems with this, absolutely. This was awful to have happen. These folks shouldn't have had to deal with this.
So very few people have lost their jobs in your cabinet for decisions that were or were not made. Why is that?
We've made a number of changes, and people have lost their job.
All right, right here, Laura with WWJ.
Governor, I just wanted to ask you about trust.
Mm-hmm.
The pastor seems to trust you. Do you feel that the mayor now, Karen Weaver, trusts you? I mean, how are you building this back? Are you going to have town hall meetings with the public, I mean, to really reach out to them? Are you going into homes and saying, I see what you're dealing with?
Yeah, no, I appreciate those questions. You have to earn trust back. It doesn't happen automatically, and when you go backwards, it's even harder to earn it. So that's where you have to, not just what you talk about, is do you say something and then do it? And do it in a way that people can appreciate you're trying to help them. And that's what all these actions are about. That's what we're doing each and every day. And I appreciate the pastor's kind words. I mean, it makes me feel good. I got a pastor actually supporting me, because you got to have some faith during all this. You go beyond that, though, is I'm doing teletown halls. I've done each one in the last several weeks, where literally I get the chance to talk to, the opportunity to hear from Flint residents. And the feedback on those calls has been very good. I've done dozens of questions and answers with them, because many people have the same question. I've been to the fire stations. I've been to the food bank. Again, I want to keep getting out in the community. To be blunt, there are some people that don't want me around. But I am trying to be active in the community, to go out and reach out to people and meet them and have interactions, because that's how you find out what's really happening with folks. And that's why I thank all the folks for standing up here on stage. Thank you.
All right, right here in front, Governor, we have Diana from the Deaf Association has a question for you.
Hello, Governor. We would like to thank you for providing interpreters at your bill signing today, providing access for myself and the general citizens who are deaf in Michigan. You are allocating funds for this issue. Are you allocating funds for the deaf and hard of hearing citizens in Michigan to provide translation services for all the materials that you are creating on this water crisis?
Yeah, what I would say is...
For the water bill, thank you, Governor. And many of us don't have services. We're not getting provided appropriate access to all of the services that are provided, as well as to all of the documents.
No, thank you for your question. What I would say is we've improved a lot, but we still need to improve more. This was something that I don't think we identified as quickly about the sign community in particular, and the deaf community. I think we have started improving quite a bit on this process. But again, that's where I would hope, to the degree you see things we're missing, please bring them forward. Please help identify these things, because again, we're all on this. And again, I appreciate the deaf community. We've had the issue with the Spanish community in terms of language considerations there. And there's a number of groups that if we're missing anyone, if any of the community people here identify ways we can do better, let us know. Thank you.
Okay. We have a question right here, Governor, from Cape Field City Council member.
Hello, Governor. Regarding the $500,000 no-bid road contract that was issued by you with apparently Mayor Weaver's approval, City Council knew nothing of this contract. No one consulted us, notified us, anything. In fact, that's how City Council gets most of its information, is in the news. I want to know if that $500,000 is going to be paid from the funds or deducted from the funds that you were giving to the city.
No, it's actually a separate line item in the supplemental bill I signed earlier this year. Of the $28 million, it was a specific line item for $500,000. I appreciate the fact, actually, I got a letter recently from the City Council that we're reviewing, and I look forward to responding to, about how we can build a better relationship to work together.
We're looking forward to your response. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, back to Jim with Channel 7.
Thank you. Governor, with all due respect, you answered the question a few moments ago that you're kicking yourself. What runs through your mind when you look back at this? Do you consider your personal handling of this, again, with all due respect, you know how emotional it is in this town. Was this a failure on your part for Flint?
Well, I take this as something that I wish I would have done better and more. I think I made that hopefully clear during the State of the State in terms of my statements about the failure. People work for me that let us all down. And I'm responsible for that, but I'm also responsible for hopefully asking the tough questions and helping find out where those issues could happen. This is one case I didn't get it, Jim, in terms of finding all those threads and putting them together as fast or the way I would have liked to. And that's why I made the point. You learn from the issues you've had in the past, what didn't go right. And this was a failure point. So that's why I'm making the point to you, and I tried to reinforce it is, that's why I'm doing a daily call. That's why I'm designing reports myself to say what you may want to give me is good stuff, but this is what I'm really looking for so I can feel good we're on top of it. And I'm going to continue that focus as we deal with this crisis. And it is a crisis in my view.
Just one more follow-up along those lines. Mike Godola surfaced in the email that came out recently. You know he has ties to this community. I've known him and his family for quite a while. What did he convey to you personally while all this was being discussed behind the scenes as your chief legal advisor from a personal level from Mike Godola?
Yeah, to be open, I don't recall at this point. Again, there are a lot of discussions over time with a lot of people. We're talking a long period. But if you just ask me that out of the blue, Mike Godola is a great person, and that's why I was proud to appoint him a member of the Court of Appeals. So again, you might want to actually follow up with Mike. Being a judge, I don't know how open he'll be in terms of having discussions on all these things. I can't speak for him. He's a great person, though.
All right, we've got Jessica with Channel 12 here.
Hello, sir. You talk a lot about cultural change. After reviewing a lot of these emails, there seems to be some gaps between communication and agencies, and it's very much an email culture. Is part of what you're encouraging is maybe more face-to-face time between department heads so that maybe these dots could have been connected sooner?
Well, again, you're always trying to find good means of communication. And again, the emails are coming out in waves today. So literally, you've got a lot more emails coming out with respect to the executive office. So what we're releasing today are basically all the executive office emails relating to Flint Water from the time I took office through January 5th of 2015. So by the time you're done, you're going to see probably 6,000 or more email. And again, email isn't always the best way. This is where you got to strike the balance between talking on the phone, email, having meetings, again. But that's why you've seen me coming to Flint to be part of the interagency meetings and good people meeting face-to-face to make sure we have those discussions. That's why I went to the State Emergency Operations Center this week. I get great reports, and they do wonderful work, but I wanted to go meet them, shake their hand, look them in the eye, and say, is there anything I'm missing? What else should we be doing?
All right, we've got time for one more question from Dave from Fox 2.
Flint's water bills are some of the highest in the state, probably the nation. Why is that, and what's being done to address it?
That's been a historic problem. That's been going on for years before even the emergency manager situation. What I tell you is, in the interagency meeting we had just before this, that's on one of the agenda items. That's a fair issue that should be discussed in terms of more analysis should be done to understand that. So I'm not going to try to justify that. I want to get to the bottom of that too. But what I'd say is I want to do that in partnership with the mayor. It's a city utility, so I want to support the city in terms of them doing the analysis, them having the answers. And again, they're running the city. But I want to be that supportive partner to say, if you need help, if you need more resources, another set of eyes, I'm an old accountant. I'm happy to, I've started looking at some of this stuff myself. And there are questions that I think are fair ones to ask that we should go answer.
You mentioned something about some of the water leaking. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, there's a lot of leakage in the system. And if you put it in context to the degree the city's back on DWSD and was for all those years, to the degree there's leakage, that's water that had to be paid for. And if you had less leakage, the cost to the city would have been less. So that's back to the whole issue of why I want to start the infrastructure commission for the entire state, looking at the broader questions. So lead service lines are the focus of many people today in infrastructure, but we have a whole statewide infrastructure question that deserves much more attention And I'm pushing to get that attention done this year for Flint and for the state of Michigan.
Thank you, Governor.
Okay, thank you. And thanks to all my guests up here on stage.